Our phenomena for this lesson is how can baking soda and vinegar blow up a plastic bag? The materials that we will need are a sandwich bag, 25 milliliters of vinegar, a half a tablespoon of baking soda, and a 1-ply tissue. And then once you combine those, we're going to watch what happens.
Hello. Today we're going to be talking about structure and properties of matter. This experiment and lesson is going to go along with NJS Standard 5 PS14, where you conduct an investigation to determine whether the mixing of two or more substances results in new substances. Have you ever seen two different things, two different substances, and wondered, or seen a substance and wondered how that was made, or ever mixed two different things together just to see what would happen? I know I have when I was younger, outside playing. You take water and you take dirt and you mix those together and you make mud. And I always enjoyed mixing those kind of things and playing together. The big rage now is slime. Everyone loves to make slime, and you have to use, there's several different ways. You can use borax and glue, or you can just use glue and a slime agitator. Any of those things work. So today, though, we're going to take a solid baking soda, which is going to be which is a base, and then we're going to take liquid vinegar, which is an acid, and we're going to mix those together, and we're going to see what happens. Our phenomena is how can baking soda and vinegar blow up a plastic bag? It should be fun and exciting to see what happens. Hopefully we don't completely make the bag explode. Hopefully we can just get it to blow up properly and see what happens. Our materials that we need, we're going to need a sandwich. We need a sandwich bag. We need half a tablespoon of baking soda. We need 25 milliliters of vinegar, which is already measured out in this bag. And we need a 1-ply tissue, which we're going to put our baking soda in. We also need a ruler. I'm going to use this kind so that we're going to measure our bag afterwards when we're done. So before we do this experiment, though, we're going to take our worksheet, our Let's Do a Chemistry worksheet, and we will fill out all the things that we observe about our different materials that are on the table. So for vinegar, under vinegar, some possible observations of vinegar are it's a liquid, it's transparent, it has an odor, it stinks, it's pungent, it's strong. What does it look like? It looks like water. Feels like water. There's no bubbles when you pour it out. Those types of things. We'll also make our observations for baking soda. Some possible answers are it's a solid, it's white, it doesn't really have an odor, and it looks like a powder, it feels soft, and we won't forget to put that the vinegar is an acid and that baking soda is a base. And then before we do this experiment, we're going to think about what can happen, or what's going to happen, when we mix these two substances together. So some possible answers are, the odor is going to change, or there's going to be an odor produced. The temperature could change. It could turn into a gas. There might be fizzing, bubbling, all kinds of things. If you've ever mixed baking soda and vinegar together before, you know that when you put those two together, it usually starts to bubble. But we're going to see what happens when we enclose it into a plastic bag, if that makes any differences whatsoever. So we're going to start off, we're going to measure out half a tablespoon of baking soda, and we're going to pour it into our tissue, and we're going to fold up this tissue like a little package to keep the baking soda from spilling out. So just like this, we're just going to fold it up, make it look nice and neat, and put that to the side. Next, we're going to get our plastic bag, and we're going to pour out our pre-measured vinegar into the plastic bag, just like this. Pour it in there, see what happens. So as we can see right now, we have our liquid, which is the acid, and it's in here. There's nothing happening at this moment. Once we poured it into this plastic bag, it still has stayed the same. There's been no changes. Then we're going to take our folded up tissue. We're going to hold it at the top of the bag. We're not going to let it drop down into the vinegar just yet. And we want to seal up our bag like so. Make sure you get most of the air out so we can see exactly what happens. Seal it up nice and tight. And then you may drop your vinegar or your baking soda tissue into the plastic bag. And you're going to shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. And see what happens. And as you're observing, you can see that it's making bubbles, and that the bag is filling up with air. If you continue to shake it, it's going to fill up even more and more. And so when we mix baking soda and vinegar together, it makes a gas. So the properties change. The two properties of these two different substances combine, and they change to form a gas. So the liquid and the solid together make a gas. Once we're done with that, we will take our experiment data sheet, and we're going to fill in what happened, what we observed. We're going to use our scientific minds. We're going to use our thinking caps and write down what we observed. So under this first question, scientists record their results. What happened? Well, a gas was produced, right? The bag inflated. It didn't deflate. Thankfully, it didn't explode either, but it inflated. And next, we're going to measure around the bag to see just exactly how big it got. So, got about 13, it's about 13 inches around. So that's another observation that we can record. And then our last question, and a question for you that I would like you to answer, is what is the name of the gas that formed in this bag? What gas did we produce? And I'll give you a minute to think what it could be called. And our name of our gas is carbon dioxide, right? This is the gas that we exhale, right? It's a gas that's used to make bubbles in seltzer. It's a very important gas, and we just made it just by mixing vinegar and baking soda together.